This, actually, before I get to, yeah, see this? That's new. I mean, I've recently added that. You might have noticed it in the previous one, because it came to my attention that at least 2 people were watching Chicken Philosophy with like all this stuff down here. Now, if it's full and you tap it, then you can click like. So that's one thing that I like about, that you can click like and subscribe. But once you're done with that, then you tap the corner again and it goes full. I want to take over your whole phone. Now, obviously, I'm not talking to the folks watching this on their television through the YouTube app on the smart TV or the computers. So yeah, that's new. That's a new thing. You know what else is new is, okay, now it's time for me to say this is Chicken Philosophy. Wait for it. That's new. So you might have noticed that says 900. Okay, what's going on here? So, I don't know when it was, but I put actually not all, I did omit a few that were just too embarrassing from like 2007 era for various reasons. I didn't include a few videos, but I solidly included a vast majority of the videos that I've made that are on YouTube on various channels. Some of them I made for other people, so like music videos for their music, but I made the video like that. And then some of them were for the art walk, and at a certain point the Hive Gallery was like, hey, could you put those art walk videos up on our YouTube channel? So the Hive art gallery and studios in Los Angeles has several of my old videos. And there might be a few other channels that I'm just not thinking of right now. But all the videos on that playlist were made by me. And this is the 900th one. And less obviously, for those who are on the Instagram, you can see that this is, well, if you look at it before the next episode after this comes out, then you'll see that there are 250 images on the Instagram page, which corresponds to the number of Chicken Philosophy episodes on Chicken Philosophy. But if you look at the Chicken Philosophy channel, there's also like that Chicken Philosophy introduction, and then there's the 15 color wheel. The 15 color wheel. That's a good one. It's an hour and a half, but it's a good one. I mean, it's a deep dive into all the color combinations that you get with this one being, what color are we today? I'm blue, Martin Luther is orange, so we're blue and orange today. So, what was the blue and orange? I don't really remember what the blue and orange was, but let's do a short flashback. The Greek New Testament. There, and we'll make it orange. And we'll turn the cup blue and the host orange. How about that? Okay, so that you can find that on the 15 color wheel, the longer form of that. Okay, so that playlist is called Pymander Aquarian. It used to be called All Videos by Popularity. You've heard me talk about it before. You're watching everything. I renamed it Pymander Aquarian. So the playlist is called Pymander Aquarian, and this is the 900th video in Pymander Aquarian, but it's sorted by popularity. It'll pretty much always, unless I have a video that like goes viral, it'll pretty much always start with the Dharamshala Rishikesh video, which has 19,000 views. It's a good one. I like it. Could very well be my favorite video that I've made, especially where it's the Masrur rock-hewn temple ruins from 800, not from 1,200 years ago, from 800, around the year 800, where Pew and I went back in 2018. And I played part of the soundtrack to, I think, Bahubali 2. But yeah, if you go to that Pymander Aquarian playlist, the fun part, after you've already seen the top one, fun part is scrolling through all the 900 videos. And presumably, You know, I mean, it's not 100%. Sometimes a video gets more views because somehow the algorithm just recommends it to more people. There was one point where I was using Roman numerals for, I mean, I still do when it's appropriate. I mean, when the Polytext Society uses Roman numerals in the Buddhist books, then the title includes those Roman numerals, and so it was getting pretty high in the Roman numerals, so it was like the Roman numerals for 44, 45, and 46 or something like that, all in one title. And then there's some weird, I don't know, like dark web, deep web porn thing that, you know, was codenamed XXXVIII, and it meant something to them, but obviously it means something else in Roman numerals. And because it was in the title of my video, 1,000 people came to watch some random recital from the Tipitaka that I did in a balcony in South Goa, before we lived in South Goa, when we were still living in Delhi, but we spent a couple of months in South Goa. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So yeah, what I'm saying is you can, you know, the top of that playlist is the more popular videos, and then if you scroll all the way to the bottom, it's the less popular videos or the new videos that nobody's seen yet. And okay, enough about that. So there's Pymander Aquarium 900, Chicken Philosophy 250, 900 is Zadi Final. Zadi is the star, Crowley. It's an inside joke, sort of. Yeah, so that's the star card. It's fun. I'm not going to talk about the star card. And then 250 would be the sun card and the death card. It doesn't matter what the cards are. I mean, the Hebrew numerology and the corresponding tarot trumps. Our incense today. So it, you know, this special episode 900 falls on a Martin Luther Edward recital. I hope it's fine. I haven't read it yet, and I haven't peeked ahead, so I don't know what I'm going to be reading. So we'll both be surprised by how it goes. In the meantime, we're lighting some sacred frankincense and myrrh from, I don't have my glasses on yet, so it's Oro Shika is the name of the brand. So, yeah, if you're paying extra close attention, you might be like, wait a minute, that little Pymander thing that popped up in the corner yesterday, I remember it saying 897. How did we get to 900? Well, I have 2 cards left, and then I've committed to what cards I'm putting up, in other words, links that appear up in the corner. So if you want to watch the beginning, if you want the whole Martin Luther playlist, open up the, tap down here, and then you'll see toward the top, if you open up the description, like you have to click to view more, and then there's a linked thing that says Martin Luther. You can click that, and that'll take you to the playlist. I'm not going to point in the corner today because all 5 of those links are spoken for. Because 898 was a Gwydion's poetry recital, and I don't normally link to those here, but Gwydion's poetry, the whole idea, I mean, not the whole idea, but part of the idea of Gwydion, and the function that Gwydion has served at different times over the years is to get the creative juices flowing, or keep the creative juices flowing, or letting them flow more weirdly, more widely, more strangely, experimenting with things that maybe ought not to be experimented with. If there's some idea that I'm like, can you imagine if I did that? Then I put on the hat and I do it, and then it's out of my system, and then I can say it's done, and then I can, have that. Don't pay attention when it's the hat guy. Then it's weird. He's weird. You and I both know he's weird. I'm not weird. It's the hat guy. So that's Gwydion. Gwydion's poetry in present day is the purest expression of that aspect of Gwydion, in that it is like if I feel like I want to say something, but I don't actually want to say it, I have something to say, but no one would be interested. It's really just for me personally, or I'm excited about something, and it's like, yeah, it would be a waste of anybody's time to actually put this up there and expect anybody to be interested in that. Then what I do is I put on the hat, say everything I want to say, reverse it so that the whole thing is like, like Twin Peaks Red Room, unless Cooper's speaking. Some of them speak in normal voice, some of them, but they're speaking backwards and then making it forwards so that they're saying something forwards, but I say something forwards and then play it backwards so that I'm not playing anything. And if somebody took the time to like go to one of those YouTube to MP4 like shady, sites and put in the URL of the YouTube video and then download it and put it in some software and reverse it, then you'd find out what I was saying and likely be disappointed that I'm like, so I was walking down the street and I stepped in some poop, oh my god, or whatever it is that I was saying that day. So the thing I was excited about was that I was gonna introduce the little Pymander Aquarian logo with the number. So the very first video that had that pop up was Gwydion's Poetry Part 20, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's the one where I introduced the little thing in the corner. All right, so that was 898. 899 was one that I made. So I made two videos yesterday. There was the Gwydion's Poetry Part 20, and then there was from Going Gone. So that's the channel where when Piyu and I are wandering around Goa, which is where we live. There's the travel series on my channel, which if you scroll down to the bottom of the description, if you open out the description, scroll down to the bottom, it says Edward Reeves' main channel, then you can find the travels. There's a few different ways to approach the travels. So there's the playlist called India, which is my travels once I got to India. And then there's, if you click playlists, I believe you can find the one that's just called Travels. Anyway, and but that one's backwards, so it starts in Shillong. No, it starts in Missouri. I made one from Missouri. Those who are paying attention will know that it was recent. It was when we went up there after a loved one passed away in the family, and so it's a little bit more somber. It's a beautiful video, but it's not like, hey, rock out, travels, hey. It's much more like contemplative, but it's a beautiful video, I'd say. Pat Metheny Travels live. As Goes Wichita, that song. So, right. So there was a Going Gone video that I put up called March in Goa, and then parentheses 2025. So it's just, when we go somewhere, sometimes I'll take a vertical video if I want to show you guys here on Chicken Philosophy, or if one of us wants to make a reel or a story on, because those are vertical. And then I'll also take horizontal videos for the Going videos, because the Going videos are horizontal, though I do sometimes put shorts there. So it's basically a compilation of the horizontal videos that we took in March in Goa, put to music. It's the a cappella version of Because by the Beatles. And that video is right here. And now I've used all 5, and I think I've talked enough to kind of put a buffer between us and the actual Martin Luther recital, just in case. Again, I don't know how it's going to be today. We're still continuing whatever that was we were reading last time. Or Gwydion was having a it was a special episode last time, wasn't it? Oh, this is some coffee that I made a while ago. So twice a day I'm allowed to have sugar in my coffee. It's technically jaggery, which is like raw sugar, kind of made from different things like coconut or whatever. Sometimes it's made from sugar cane, so it's like sugarcane jaggery. It's like, well, but so it's sugar? No. Brown sugar? No. It's like more brown. It's browner than brown sugar, if that makes sense. If by brown in this context you mean like, I don't know how they make jaggery. I'm totally ignorant about it, but anyway. So you might look at this and be like, oh, this reminds me of the red one with the crown. The red one with the crown broke. You saw it. And I came, an alchemy, red king. Because we were talking about queens and kings, and what were we talking about? I don't even know. I think that was Gwydion, though. Not 100% sure. It might have been Martin Luther. Might not have been. Anyway, so that glass is, that cup is gone. So a moment of silence. All right, that's enough. All right, so we've got lukewarm jaggery coffee, which is special to me because I am going to be having sugar-free coffee for the rest of the day until late at night. I'll have one more sugar coffee. That's how it goes when you're 46, or how it should go if you want to keep the old Grim Reaper away. There's other ways that he can. Let's not talk about the Grim Reaper too much, unless Martin Luther brings it up. So we did the incense, we did the coffee, we did the numerology, not really. Oh, I forgot to mention, this is Martin Luther, part 37.
I'm 37, I'm not old.
Thank you, as always, Dennis, the anarcho-syndicalist Arthurian peasant from Monty Python. And thank you, Monty Python, as always. So now there's nothing left to do except for put these on and begin. So I'm pretty sure that I am here in this paragraph. If some of it's familiar, then I apologize. Maybe I stopped in the middle of a paragraph. I don't know. Yeah. So let me just. Okay, so he was talking about torturing the Lord's Prayer, and Gwydion was like, I don't know. He was like, the whole thing about the Lord's Prayer is the greatest martyr on earth, and Gwydion was like harping on that about, you're saying that the Lord's Prayer got more tortured than Jesus did in that Mel Gibson movie, whatever, Gwydion. So everybody tortures and abuses it. Take comfort and joy in its proper use. Okay, so whatever. I'm not personally offended by Martin Luther speaking hyperbolically about how many people abuse the Lord's Prayer, and I even agree. Actually, I think that. I don't think there's some people who like, if you're just reciting like there's that scene from The Burbs.
Ray, you're chanting. Ray, look. Ray, unconscious chanting. You're chanting. I want to kill everyone. Satan is good. Satan is our pal.
Yeah. So there's people who will go there with it and say if you're just saying, you're spaced out and you're not thinking about anything and you're saying Ave Maria Gratia Plena Dominus Tecum Benedicta and all the other, then you might channel a demon or something. People will say that. I don't say that. I think that's lame. I think that it's a perfectly valid, beautiful, meditative practice, spiritual practice. I hesitate to use the word spiritual most often because it's just too loaded. It's got too many definitions from people who dislike the word, don't use the word, consider it primitive, consider it a relic of an earlier time when humans before the Enlightenment or whatever. And it's funny they use the word enlightenment to refer to something that, no, it's a proper usage. It's just different from the way that they use it in Buddhism or Christianity for that matter. But right. So spiritual, sure, yeah, of the nature of the breath or something, the ruach. Doesn't matter. So the point is, I think it's a perfectly valid thing to do, to like have your rosary beads and be kind of in a half, like a somnambulist sort of semi hypnotic, like self-hypnotic state. Just yeah, it's fine. It's beautiful. Like I've experienced many hours throughout my life of that kind of hypnotic thing, and I can tell you I was not thinking Ave. Yes, that means I salute you. Maria, yes, this is who we're talking about. Gratia, yes, grace, that thing that we all can clearly define and know what it is, or at least pretend to, and smile and nod to each other like, yes, grace. You got grace. I'm not thinking about the words at all, but I think it's also of assistance to think about the words, and to know what they mean. But chanting them without thinking about them too much, I think is a perfectly valid practice, and I have no problem with it. Martin Luther has a problem with it. I don't. But, all right, cool. He's defining his new religion. So, picking up where we left off last time. If I had the time and opportunity to go through the Lord's Prayer, I do the same with the Ten Commandments, and we did read this, but we're in the middle of the paragraph, so I'm just going to read the paragraphs and we'll catch up with where we were. I take one part after another and free myself as much as possible from distractions so I can pray. I agree. Let's do like a simple, ding and ding. So ding, I'll just to keep it simple, we'll do a score. So far, Martin Luther has said one thing that I resonate with and agree with, and 0 that I disagree with. And I'm not going to point with every sentence, but sometimes I'll point. That'll be fun, right? And then we'll have it fade out when we're not talking about it, so it's not distracting. Right. I divide each commandment into 4 parts as I form... Oh yeah, okay, Thanksgiving. I remember this. All right, quote... I am the Lord your God, quote, etc. Quote, you shall have no other gods before me. We've read this as well. I must think of him. All right, maybe that's where we ended. Here I earnestly consider that God expects and teaches me to trust him sincerely in all things, and that it is his most earnest purpose to be my God. I must think of him in this way at the risk of losing external salvation. I might have gotten hung up on that, or Gwydion did. That's where we left, at the risk of losing eternal salvation, which could be just read as like, it's Christian stuff. But Gwydion decided to take the opportunity to talk about how like living in fear of eternal damnation is a kind of hell, and encouraging a system of thought or philosophy or religion in which you intentionally cause people to walk around in a state of primal fear in order to get them to behave better is something I disagree with. So we got 1 and 1. All right, moving on. For more about that, see part 36. Skip to the end where Gwydion goes on and on about it. All right. My heart must not build upon anything else or trust in any other thing, be it wealth, prestige, wisdom, might, piety, or anything else. Now I'll give him a positive for that having a direct relationship with God is better than having a relationship with piety, which is what? Which is like acting godly. It's like true piety is more of like a byproduct, or it's a way of describing. I don't have the dictionary definition in front of me right now, and I'm not going to bother Editor Edward today, or I'll try not to. But yeah, basically my understanding is that acting in a way that a godly person would, acting in a way that a pious person would, but it can be a virtue, like 500 years ago equivalent of virtue signaling. The society says it's good to care about the environment and the struggles of oppressed people. So by just dropping casually, so I was recycling and I gave money to a homeless person on my way back. And anyway, it could be seen as virtue signaling. But in Martin Luther's day, when everybody's Christian, then, walking up to the church and that's very sincerely yes, okay. Oh, put some money in in the donation box. Do it as loudly as possible so that everybody, within earshot will go, what was that? Oh, it's that pious man donating to the poor. That could be 16th century virtue signaling. So I think by saying trust in God more than you trust in piety, I mean, trust in God more than you trust in the displayed godliness of another human being. Sure, that too, or your own, or in the acting out of doing things that. Yeah. So anyway, and just because I feel like mentioning it, here's the Tree of Life. Then this might come across as like fuzzy, as but it depends on where you're coming from. But the way that it's kind of like, in my experience, and by that of course I mean the decades of Golden Dawn brainwashing, like as mentioned in the previous episode, every one of these has a name. I mean, a godly name. Every one of these. Oh, and I left off. So we left off with Allah, with El. So Elohim Gibor, which is like the powerful God, and which is plural. Im is plural, so gods. If you look at Genesis here in the Tanakh, where is it? There. It'll say, Elohim created the heaven and the earth and all this stuff, but then once it gets to a certain point where it's about mankind, and especially like, issues with mankind, and then it's Yod He Vav He Elohim. So, what, like after the fall or something. And so there's a whole thing about, how come the name of God changed when the state of mankind changed? If you want to put it in past tense like that and speak within the metaphor of the, 6,000 years ago, there were two humans and they must not have had belly buttons because they didn't have a mother, right? Because they got rid of Ashira. What am I talking about? I don't know. Doesn't matter. So then the one in the middle, the yellow one, is Yod He Vav He Elohim Da'at. The green one is Yod He Vav He Tzabaot, which is hosts or armies. So Lord of Armies, God of Armies is one of God's names. Elohim Tzabayot, which is also God of Armies. So it's Yod He Vav He Elohim. Elohim is basically like plural for Eloah. And Eloah is related to El, so all these things are connected and related. And plural and singular, not only, I mean, it's within itself. So here's 10 names. Oh, and just to finish it off, Shaddai El Chai, which is Almighty Living God, basically, right? Almighty God of Life, however you want to translate that. And then Adonai Haaretz, which is, Lord or Sir, landlord of dirt. Aretz means dirt. I think specifically it means like sand. I mean, I could be wrong. It's been a while since I took weekly Hebrew lessons from Gila Nissan, who I'll put a link to her tarot thing. I mean, she has a thing. She's we disagree on certain things going on in the world, but I appreciate that she taught me a lot. She's the reason why I can pronounce Hebrew. So this is Gila's thing. She painted these big 22 portraits of the Hebrew letters, and then made them into cards. So so there's cards with her painting and some information about each of the 22 cards. So assuming this is available as I'm talking to you now, and assuming you can find a link to it in the description below, see there's a little booklet that goes with it, then, and assuming that, I don't know how much it costs right now, but if you want, if this is interesting to you, then, go support my Hebrew teacher by clicking in the link below. I'll put that toward the top with whatever the description of this ends up being, which reminds me, yesterday, oh my God, I had that. Because when I was doing I was looking up, it was hot outside, and I was wearing 3 layers of robes, and then I was holding this heavy book and like looking, and like something about the combination of things. I got very sweaty, so before I went back on and it slowed it back down to normal speed time, I got a napkin and wiped my face, and then I was like, okay, let's get back into it. And then I had a little piece of napkin right next to my mouth for the entire rest of the episode, and whatever. All right, so I don't know how we got on that subject. Right, so the names, there's 10 names of God right here, and there are more than 10. And if you look at the Luria tree that my old teacher would have preferred, then there are different names. And she got very upset that they're different from the Hermetic Kabbalist names. And I was explaining, 800 years ago or whenever, like there started to be some communication between the Jewish people in Spain and the Christians, and so then there was some of the information got through, some of it didn't, some of it was reinterpreted by the Europeans, and then some of it was like clarified and codified later after the Spanish Inquisition and everything, when people were residing in other places. And so you end up with the Luria tree with different names of God associated with the Sephira than the Athanasius Kircher tree, Athanasius Kircher being a Jesuit priest, right? So already it's clearly different. It's clearly 2 branches. And she was like, well, but truth is truth. One of them must be wrong. And that's kind of where another area where we didn't exactly see eye to eye, but I respect, her knowledge and everything. But yeah, I mentioned, or BT mentioned that the interest is, the flow is one way. The one school receives from the other, but it doesn't flow back really too much at all. Except in cases where it's not immediately obvious that there's like elements of Greek and Roman paganism in it and Christianity in it, then something might be mistaken for genuine and then perpetuated or taught by a rabbi who teaches Kabbalah or whatever. What am I talking about? I don't know. So if someone's abiding by the 10 Commandments, thou shalt have no other gods before me, no gods, then how could you possibly have a little statue of Venus in the corner, Edward, or whatever? Well, Venus is related to Netzach, and Netzach, of course, is an emanation of God, and these emanations of God have different energies, different forms, but it's all just God in a different mood, right? Sometimes I'm upset, sometimes I'm smiling. It's still me, though, right? So Elohim Gibor is God when he's upset, Shaddai El-Chai when he's smiling, or whatever, however you want to extend that metaphor. Analogy? I don't know. And so yeah, but then if you extend it further and further, there's this book called 777. I think I have it here, but yeah, it's right here. And that's famously stolen from Mathers by Crowley. He wrote some introduction and stuff and added, some stuff. He took what he got from the Golden Dawn, added to it, and published it with his own name. So, no, but the point is that in the book 777, you'll find all kinds of correspondences. Basically, the 32 paths of the Sefer Yetzirah, all 32 are here. There's the 10, and then there's the 22, which are the paths in between, so there's 32. So you'll find the 32 paths of the Sefer Yetzirah and how they correspond to the Egyptian pantheon, the Greek pantheon, the Hindu pantheon, whatever's in there. And then people have taken that idea and that philosophy and extended it further and further and further and found the correspondences between, every part of the Tree of Life and, Lord of the Rings or whatever else. And so if you allow all of those things to be, thought of as literally expressions of these 10, then that means that if you're talking to Venus, the Roman goddess, and you're kind of like fully indoctrinated into this idea and the 777, footnote addendum to this idea, then you aren't breaking the first commandment by at least talking to Venus. And then if you were like, okay, well, stand there and wear this, or no, don't wear it. Yeah, okay, whatever. Okay, now I worship you, O Venus. I am going to offer you this apple and these, fruits, and apples of fruit, I know, incense and everything else. And I do this for you, and I ask for you to go into the mind of my coworker and make her think, hey, that guy's kind of attractive. I think I'll say yes this time when he asks me out to lunch instead of the usual no. Then that could be a form of not breaking the first commandment. If Venus is Netzach and Netzach is Yodevave Sabaoth, and Yodevave Sabaoth is the same God that's in the first commandment, so it's all God. Yeshua mihi omnia, Jesus is all things to me. Therefore, you can worship a brick, and you're doing nothing but worshiping Jesus. And though I'm making a cartoon out of it, I legitimately feel this way, Like, I mean, I'm preemptively mocking my own sincere position on this subject. That's all within the context of like satisfying that little like 6-year-old that somebody told the 10 Commandments to within me, that still takes them seriously on any level whatsoever. And then there's of course the rest of me that's kind of yeah, that's a part of that Abrahamic thing. Let's try to get outside of that. But as part of my sort of casual Jungian shadow work that I started doing, because I left it all, went to India, and just was like, okay, no more Western, totally Eastern, everything Hindu, everything Buddhist, and but then after a few years and kind of settling into a sense of normalcy here in my new life, then it started to make sense to do things like read Martin Luther and say, all right, let's look at this. And so we've come full circle. And here we are. Okay, my heart must not, Second, I give thanks for his infinite compassion by which he has come to me in such a fatherly way, and unasked, unbidden, and unmerited has offered to be my God, to care for me, and to be my comfort, guardian, help, and strength in every time of need. All right, that's cute. I don't really have any criticism of that, but on a certain level, it's absurd. But So if you create something and then let it go off and wander, and then say, "Hey, if you need me, I'm here." No, I guess that's okay. Fine, whatever. We poor mortals have sought so many gods, and would have to seek them still if he did not enable us to hear him openly tell us in our own language, because you translated it. That's a good one, Martin. That he intends to be our God. How could we ever, in all eternity, thank him enough? Within his own paradigm, within his own egregore, what he's saying makes sense. I would venture in reality, in my egregore, in my group think, no, it's not an egregore, it's just my think. To say, like, maybe try another perspective, rather than, how could there's not enough time for me to finish thanking you for being my God, even though I'm a lowly mortal. Like, get in touch with that aspect of yourself, which is God. Get into the Sufis, or at least the Catholics. Fuck. The mystics and whatnot. You remember Teilhard de Chardin? I kind of miss Teilhard de Chardin, I have to admit. It weirded me out when I got, for those watching Teilhard de Chardin, I don't want to do any spoilers, but there's some stuff right at the end of the last Teilhard de Chardin, which is the reason we've stopped reading Teilhard de Chardin, but that opened up a slot for Nag Hammadi, so something good came out of it. But there is a little thought in the back of my head thinking, I do want to bring back Teilhard de Chardin at some point, but how can I when it's like, well, he became controversial because of how enthusiastically he was a supporter of eugenics. I'm like, I don't think I can read Teilhard de Chardin. It's like, I don't think I'm going to be able to. I got Neil Gaiman's Sandman series like a year before everything came out about what a monster he was, and I've never read it. I probably never will. It's just going to sit on my bookshelf collecting dust for the rest of my life until I give it away. Should I give it away? Never mind. Right, where was I? Who am I? What? So many gods. Yeah, we've sought so many gods, and now we can read, because I translated it in the Bible, that you are there, and how can we thank you enough? Okay, that's fine. Third, I confess and acknowledge my great sin and ingratitude for having so shamefully despised such sublime teachings and such a precious gift throughout my whole life, and for having fearfully provoked his wrath by countless acts of idolatry. I repent of these and ask for his grace. So I think Martin Luther is referring to like when he was a monk. So now that he's Martin Luther, the founder of Protestant Christianity, he's looking back at his time when he was a Catholic monk, and he's like, I was just doing all this Catholic stuff, and I now, as the first Protestant, think of that as a form of idolatry, which it condemns. The thing I came from says no idolatry, and now that I've left the thing I came from, I consider the thing I came from idolatry. Okay, when you leave a cult, Mr. Luther, it's natural to spend a few years, as like when you leave Scientology, you join the anti-Scientology, like group chats on Facebook or whatever. I don't know. I'm probably showing my age by making these arcane references, but good show, Arcane, by the way. But then you get over it. After a few more years, then you're like, you know what? I don't need to be an anti-Scientologist. I'm not a Scientologist, and I'm kind of done being an anti-Scientologist. I think I'm going to move on with my life now. And then everybody applauds. Yes. All right. What are you going to focus on? And I like berries. Okay. You pursue your passion. Grow some berries. Oh, I don't like growing them. Oh, draw some berries. I don't like drawing them. You like eating them? Yeah. You eat those berries, eat them with all your heart, and whatever else you want to do. Just berries. All right. The point is, Martin Luther chose a different path. That's the one where you leave the cult, and then you become an anti-that cult, but then you form another cult that's almost identical to the one you left, and then you overly criticize the one you left by the standards of the one you left. And so you just kind of become like an after image of the one you left, as Protestantism to Catholicism, or Islam is to Christianity, or Christianity is to Judaism, or Judaism is to ancient Egyptian. I'm being a bit silly, being a bit hyperbolic myself. What am I reading? We turned the page. I repent of these and ask for his grace. Fourth, I pray and say, quote, O my God and Lord, help me by your grace to learn and understand your commandments more fully every day, and to live by them in sincere confidence. Preserve my heart, so that I shall never again become forgetful and ungrateful, that I may never seek after other gods or other consolidation on earth or in any creature, but cling truly and solemnly to you, my only God. Amen, dear Lord God and Father. Amen. End quote. Well, one common theme between yesterday and today is we only got through one paragraph of this. Yesterday we only got through one paragraph of that. So I guess I've been more talkative lately than other times, which, I don't know, I'm fine with. So, I don't know, I remember one time I was meditating, and when I opened my eyes, I saw a bird seemed to be looking at me. I think it was a sparrow. And I remember I had this nice feeling, or this idea that it was the mind of God looking at me from that bird. And then later, when I was like walking to work or walking back from work, I was working at a smoothie place back then, and I was sweaty and tired and annoyed by the customers or whatever, and I looked and I saw that same kind of bird looking at me, and I was like, where's the mind of God? Like, I'm looking at the bird, I'm seeing the same thing, but I don't see the mind of God. And there's no like, therefore, the moral of the story is, no, it's just a 2-part story. The end. That's my bird story. And, I hope that you have a wonderful day, whether you believe in or know or have a definition that cannot be doubted, God, or not. Whatever form the knot or the not, the untying or the tying or the loosening or the tightening, whatever it is for you that gets you into the zone where you're like, all right, yeah, cool, then I wish that for you. And if you're one of the kinky ones who likes to be in a state of discomfort in order to motivate yourself to try toward a perfection that can never be attained, but it's not about the attaining, it's about the struggle, then may you struggle valiantly. But for the rest of us, may you have us cease from struggle, or enjoy the struggle, or find the peace within the struggle, or stop struggling, or whatever it is. Like stuck inside something. No. Whatever. I don't know. I just wish you well, whatever that means for you. I don't want to presume to put too much definition on the wellness that I wish for you, but I do wish it for you. And I offer this cup of coffee. Here's to you, Mrs. Robinson. No, here's to you. And I hope you enjoyed today's 900th video that didn't get deleted. Now, it's probably, if I didn't delete any videos and I included all the videos, it would probably be 1,400 something. But I did delete a lot of videos. In 2006, I made 300 videos. All of them got deleted and unrecovered. The computer died. The computer that the original files were on, irrecoverable. So I made a bunch of videos, uploaded them, and they're gone. I mean, they're really gone. There was one that was going semi-viral in the early days of YouTube when Time Magazine said that the person of the year is you, as in YouTube, and the cover of the magazine was the screen from YouTube, and then it was a mirror, not a very good mirror, like just a shimmery, silvery thing, but the idea was that it's supposed to be your reflection. And I did this very sarcastic, like, oh, thank you, Constantine. I never would have thought there was anything to this Jesus fellow if it hadn't been for your stamp of approval. Oh, Time Magazine, like the dinosaur is acknowledging the the spaceman, whatever. So that's gone. And that bell means I should probably wrap up, so I will. And Editor Edward, what's the end screen? Figure we'll keep it simple and go with the 2 videos that you've already introduced. And so this having been Pymander Aquarian number 900, yay, we'll put 898 up here and 899 down here. And that's, if you want the weird backwards Gwydion, that's up here. If you want a month in the life of me and Pew, that's down here. Thank you, Editor Edward. Until next time.